new beginning. Rondu said goodbye to Tommy and walked down the mountain, his heart heavy with nostalgia and concerns about the journey ahead. The familiar paths and the whispers of the wind through the trees seemed to bid him farewell as he descended. Memories of his childhood flashed before him, interspersed with thoughts of the uncertain future. His departure from the mountain was not just a physical journey, but an emotional one, laden with the weight of past joys and future responsibilities. Returned to the homeland. Upon reaching his hometown, Rondu hurried to visit his family. His return was greeted with warmth and joy, but the urgency of his mission left little room for prolonged reunions. He hastily said goodbye to Durika and his two siblings, imparting necessary instructions before he set off again. Durika, his mother, tried to mask her worry with a smile, while his younger siblings clung to him, reluctant to let go. Rondu assured them of his return and reminded them to be vigilant and take care of each other. With a final embrace, he left, determined to find Ren as per Tommy's instructions. The ancient city. Rondu's journey led him to an ancient city, a place where history and modernity intertwined. The city's cobblestone streets and towering structures told tales of a bygone era. As he navigated through the bustling market, the scents of exotic spices and the vibrant colors of the merchant stalls filled his senses. Eventually, he came upon a roadside restaurant renowned for its local specialties. The tantalizing aroma of grilled meats and simmering broths beckoned him inside. An unforeseen encounter. As Rondu entered the restaurant, the fragrant scent of the dishes immediately made him feel hungry. The place was a hub of activity, with patrons engrossed in animated conversations and the clatter of cutlery against plates, creating a symphony of its own. Just as he was about to take a seat, a gorgeous girl walked into the restaurant. Her presence commanded attention, and Rondu felt his heart stop for a moment. Her name was Flora, the daughter of the leader of the mighty gorilla gang. Flora's beauty was mesmerizing. Her eyes, as bright as the full moon, captivated Rondu, and her succulent lips seemed to contain the vastness of the ocean. In that instant, he longed to immerse himself in those eyes and feel the sweetness of her lips. Flora exuded a unique blend of gentleness and sophistication that set her apart from anyone Rondu had ever encountered. A silent connection. As if sensing Rondu's gaze, Flora turned around and immediately noticed the extremely handsome young man. Rondu, nearly 20 years old, and at the ripe age for a first love, felt a warm, strange sensation spread through his body as their eyes met. Flora's heart began to beat wildly, and she too was overwhelmed by a feeling of unexpected warmth. In that fleeting moment, Flora envisioned a happy family with Rondu and their future children. Despite the intensity of their mutual attraction, neither of them spoke. Their thoughts were a whirlwind of unspoken desires and unvoiced questions. The restaurant seemed to fade away, leaving just the two of them in a silent, shared moment of connection. A sudden departure. A servant rushed in, panting. "We have to leave quickly. No time to eat or drink. The boss urged us to leave immediately." "Hurry up, miss," he said urgently. Flora's eyes widened with regret as she realized she had to leave without even learning Rondu's name. She was torn between her sense of duty and her desire to know more about the young man who had so captivated her. As she left, her thoughts were a chaotic mix of longing and propriety. "I didn't have time to ask that boy's name, but I'm a prestigious lady. How can I ask his name first? But I want to know his name. I shouldn't do that, but..." Her mind continued to wrestle with itself as she disappeared into the mist. Lingering thoughts. Rondu sat blankly, like a lost soul, watching Flora's figure fade away. He was frustrated with himself for not asking her name or where she lived. His body felt hot, and an unfamiliar sensation coursed through him. This was his first love, and it left him unable to focus on eating. His thoughts were consumed by her. Why is there such a beautiful girl in this world? A tale of pure emotions. The love between Rondu and Flora was not merely a connection between two people, but an intersection of two souls. Their meeting was the blending of the most sincere and pure emotions, a love song that would forever be kept in their hearts and memories. Their first love, like a sweet melody, would become the most beautiful story of their lives. The road ahead. Rondu's journey continued with a newfound sense of purpose. Although he had a mission to complete, The memory of Flora lingered in his mind, giving him a sense of hope and inspiration. He traveled through various landscapes, each step bringing him closer to his destination and further from the life he once knew. Challenges and reflections. As he trekked through dense forests and crossed turbulent rivers, Rondu's thoughts often wandered back to Flora. He wondered about her life, her dreams, and whether their paths would cross again. His journey was fraught with challenges, but the memory of her eyes and the warmth of her presence gave him strength. The Forge of Destiny. It was dark when Rondu arrived at a small city beside a river sparkling with the last light of the sunset. The tranquil scene painted a picturesque view, with ancient stone-paved streets and houses adorned with red-brown tiled roofs, adding to the peacefulness of the place. The air was cool and carried the scent of the river, a refreshing change from the rugged paths Rondu had traveled. He was not tired but determined, his goal clear in his mind. Seeking directions. Rondu stopped in front of a small roadside stall, a quaint structure with an awning that shaded a few wooden tables. The smell of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, mingling with the soft chatter of locals. He approached a resident, an old man with white hair and sharp but warm eyes, and asked about the whereabouts of Ren, the famous blacksmith he was looking for. Go straight along this road, then turn right at the fork with the big oak tree. Ren's house is at the end of that road. The house has a black tile roof and old stone walls, the old man instructed, his voice steady and kind. Rondu thanked the old man, then followed the instructions. The city was calm and serene, with only the occasional murmur of voices and the distant sound of the river flowing. The old man's directions were clear, and soon Rondu found himself standing in front of an old house. Moss-stained stone walls and a black-tiled roof that had faded over the years indicated the passage of time. The house exuded a sense of history and strength, much like the man he sought. Meeting Ren's apprentice, Rondu took a deep breath, regained his composure, and knocked on the door. The door creaked open, and a young man with alert eyes and loose brown hair looked at Rondu with curiosity. "Is this Ren's house?" Rondu asked, his voice filled with hope. "Yes. What are you looking for him for?" replied the young man, his tone cautious but not unfriendly. "I want him to make me a sword," Rondu replied. The young man looked at Rondu from head to toe, assessing him. After a moment, he said, "Come back here in 3 days. He's gone." Rondu was disappointed but tried to stay calm, silently saying, "It's okay. I can wait 3 days for him." 3 days of anticipation. The next 3 days were filled with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety for Rondu. He explored the small city, trying to distract himself from the looming uncertainty of his mission. He spent his time walking along the river, admiring the serene beauty of the sunset reflecting off the water, and visiting the local market, where he observed the simple yet vibrant life of the townsfolk. Despite his attempts to distract himself, thoughts of Ren and the sword he needed constantly occupied his mind. He knew that the blacksmith's reputation was legendary, and the stories of Ren's unmatched skill only added to his resolve. Each day, as the sun set and the sky turned to shades of purple and orange, Rondu's hope grew stronger. Ren's return. On the 3rd day, Rondu stood in front of the old house, waiting with anticipation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the stone-paved streets, he saw a figure approaching. Ren, the famous blacksmith, was a man of strong build with calloused hands and tired but determined eyes. His presence exuded an aura of resilience and wisdom hard-earned through years of toil. "Hello, Ren. I'm Rondu. Nice to meet you," Rondu said, stepping forward with a mix of excitement and respect. Ren turned back to look at Rondu, his eyes studying Rondu carefully. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice gruff but not unkind. "I want you to forge a sword for me," Rondu answered honestly. Ren stared at Rondu, then said, "Every day dozens of people come to ask me to forge weapons for them. Do you think I have enough strength to forge weapons for them? Go away." Rondu's face turned red with anger, but he was able to control his emotions and said, "I am Tommy's disciple. Tommy once cured you. Don't you remember?" In fact, Tommy once cured Ren. Ren had worked as a blacksmith for many years, and often inhaled metal dust and smoke from the forging process, which caused him severe respiratory problems such as bronchitis, bronchial, and lung congestion. Long-term exposure to some metals led to metal poisoning, causing damage to his nervous system, kidneys, and other organs. Tammy diligently treated him, and Tammy was able to temporarily save his life. A debt remembered. Ren stopped walking, his eyes thoughtful, then he turned back. Tammy, I remember him now. I owe him a lot. Rondu was happy to hear that Ren might be able to forge a sword for him. So you're willing to make a sword for me, right? He asked eagerly. Ren replied, Not yet. Although I am indebted to Tommy, you are only Tommy's disciple. You must follow my rule. Do you know what my rule is? Rondu was surprised and couldn't say anything. Ren continued, 1 human life, 1 weapon. Can you do it? The challenge. Rondu already knew Ren's rules, but he didn't know how to respond. He remained silent, his mind racing with thoughts and emotions. Ren walked away, leaving behind Rondu's disappointment. That night, Rondu stood silently in front of the old house, filled with concern but determined not to give up hope. He decided to wait and prove to Ren his perseverance and steadfastness. The last forge. Rondu stood in front of Ren's house, his eyes sparkling but shining with patience. He told himself, I have to wait patiently. Opportunity will come to me. Definitely. I cannot return with empty hands. The arrival of hyenas. Suddenly, Rondu heard the roar of 2 motorbikes in the distance. As the motorbikes approached and stopped in front of Ren's house, 4 aggressive and brutal-looking hyenas got out. Their presence was menacing, and their eyes gleamed with malevolence. They knocked strongly on Ren's door, and the door echoed menacing growls. Ren walked out, his eyes tired but still calm. What are you doing at my house? Ren asked, his voice low and firm. A huge hyena with a scarred face, likely from countless gang wars, approached Ren, his voice growling, Did you make a Zeep steel hammer for Y of the ruthless Jaguar gang? Ren calmly replied, I do so much that I don't remember clearly anymore. The hyena shouted, I am Zeus. Y beheaded my brother Feis with the hammer you made. Ren tremblingly replied, What does your brother's death have to do with me? Zeus roared, You are jointly responsible for my brother's death. After speaking, he pulled out his gun and pointed it straight at Ren's head. But Ren became calmer than ever. You can't kill me. If I die, who will be left to make weapons for you guys? The battle begins. Ren was completely wrong. Hyenas rarely used weapons made by Ren, relying instead on guns to destroy their enemies. As Zeus was about to pull the trigger, his arm suddenly went numb, and the gun was kicked away by someone. Rondu rushed forward like a storm, surprised by his own speed. He deployed a shadow cloud kick and hit Zeus's arm. Zeus took a few painful steps back. The remaining 3 hyenas pulled out their guns. But Rondu quickly threw a fire dragon fist punch at the nearest hyena, then turned around and launched 2 shadow cloud kicks at the remaining 2 with terrifying speed. All the hyenas lost their weapons. Unwilling to lose, they deployed Snake Fist and attacked Rondu. The 2 hyenas near Rondu pointed their hands in the Snake Fist position straight at Rondu's chest. Rondu used Fire Dragon Fist to grab both of their hands, bend them back to one side, and then punch the right hyena straight in the chest. This one flew 3 meters away. The left one was no better, being hit in the chest by Rondu's punch and thrown in the direction of the right hyena. Rondu used his internal power to strike another punch. This internal power not only affected the left hyena, but also included the right hyena. They bled and died immediately. A surprising revelation. Everything happened so quickly that the 2 remaining hyenas were bewildered. They quickly got on a motorbike to escape. As an honest person, Rondu did not want to pursue them to the end. Rondu thought, That's strange. I was extremely surprised by my speed. It seemed like my feet didn't touch the ground. My internal power even hurt the second hyena. How is that possible? While pondering, Ren came next to Rondu, his voice tired but grateful. Thank you for saving me. I will break the rule I set. I will forge a sword for you. What martial arts do you practice? Rondu was overjoyed. I have started practicing Shadow Cloud Kick and Silver Moonlight. Ren mused. I know what kind of weapons these 2 martial arts need. I know Tommy's whereabouts. You go back. I will deliver the goods to where you live. Maybe I won't be a blacksmith anymore. I have to move house to another place. The hyenas won't forgive me. Rondu expressed concern. I'm sorry for involving you. The decision to leave. Ren shook his head, a weary but resolute expression on his face. It's not your fault. The world needs blacksmiths, but it doesn't need me to be one anymore. I've done my part. From now on, this gang world would no longer have a great blacksmith. There would be no more Ren, the king of making all types of weapons. Ren's name would echo forever in this mixed world. The goods Ren delivered to Rondu would be the last weapons he created. Awakening of power. After returning from Ren's house, Rondu immediately sought out Master Tammy. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions, and he needed guidance to understand the newfound abilities he had discovered. He found Tommy meditating under the ancient oak tree, the place where many of his lessons had begun. The meeting with Master Tommy. Tommy opened his eyes and smiled as Rondu approached, sensing the urgency and excitement in his disciple's demeanor. Rondu recounted everything in detail, his eyes sparkling with surprise and concern. When I fought with the group of hyenas to save Ren, I jumped towards them from afar at a very fast speed. But it seemed like my feet never touched the ground. I don't understand why, Rondu said, his voice filled with a mixture of wonder and confusion. Tammy listened intently, his deep eyes seeming to search Rondu's every word. After a moment of contemplation, he replied, "Perhaps when you saw Ren about to be killed by the hyenas, the blood snake venom increased the amount of adrenaline in your body and stimulated the cells to produce new ones. Combined with the internal power rising at that moment, when you ran, the internal power lifted your body high." Rondu nodded, absorbing his master's words. In addition, when I used my internal power to hit a hyena, this hyena flew away and collided with another hyena, and both died. Unveiling the mystery. Tammy looked at Rondu thoughtfully and said, "This is beyond my knowledge. This world always has miracles. Creativity is all around us. Perform for me to see." Rondu stepped in front of a large steel statue that stood in the training courtyard. He took a deep breath, mobilized his internal power, and unleashed a fire dragon fist. The powerful punch rang out like thunder, and immediately after, Rondu pressed against the statue with another burst of internal power. It seemed as though two fire dragon fist punches happened simultaneously, one from 5 feet away and one up close. The 1,000-kilogram statue toppled over, much to Tommy's surprise. A new martial art. Tommy's eyes widened with a mix of surprise and excitement. This is no longer Fire Dragon Fist, but something new. You accidentally created a new martial art of which you are the only master in this world. The internal power of the previous punch has been absorbed into the internal power of the second punch, making it stronger than the first. Rondu stood silently, his mood a blend of pride and responsibility. He thought to himself, even if I create a new martial art in the world, to honor my master's legacy, I will not name this martial art. Fire Dragon Fist is still Fire Dragon Fist. Gratitude and determination. He raised his head and looked at Tammy with deep gratitude, knowing that he had made a significant step forward on his martial arts path. "Thank you, Master," Rondu said, his voice filled with respect and determination. "I will continue to train and refine my abilities, always honoring the teachings you have imparted to me." Tammy nodded, his eyes filled with pride for his disciple. "Remember, Rondu, the path of a martial artist is one of constant growth and learning. You have discovered something extraordinary within yourself. Use it wisely and always strive for balance and harmony." The arrival of the ice sword. 2 months after returning from Ren's home, Rondu and Tommy waited in anticipation as Ren's disciple brought the promised goods. The morning was cool and crisp, the air filled with a sense of expectancy. As the package was carefully set down and unwrapped, Tammy and Rondu were both stunned by the splendid beauty of the sword inside. The splendid sword. The sword was about 1.2 meters long, with a blade approximately 4 centimeters wide. The morning sun cast bright rays upon the sword, making it sparkle brilliantly. Made from rare and durable Zeep steel, the sword possessed a shiny beauty, reminiscent of light reflecting off water. The blade was sharp and gleamed like a strip of silver silk. Every small detail on the blade was exquisitely forged, creating perfect and sharp lines. The sword's tail was a true work of art. An eagle was meticulously and exquisitely carved, its wings spread wide, its eyes gazing far away as if observing an entire frozen field. The eagle was not only a symbol of strength and courage, but also symbolized the ice storm sword, swordsmanship. The lines on the eagle were sharp and detailed down to each feather, showcasing the skillful and talented hands of the swordsmith. The hilt of the sword was wrapped in a layer of soft but sturdy leather, allowing the holder to grip it tightly and comfortably. Delicate patterns ran along the sword's body, blending with the shiny metal, creating a work that was both beautiful and powerful. Every time the sword was drawn from its sheath, a metallic sound rang out, reminiscent of the call of ice and snow, cold and powerful. Tommy's admiration. Tommy was completely fascinated by the sword. He picked it up, his eyes wide with admiration. "I have never seen a sword as beautiful as this one," he said, marveling at its craftsmanship. Remember, the swords created by Ren are extremely sharp. The miracle is that no matter how strong you are, you cannot break this sword. Additionally, it is said that the weapons forged by Ren carry with them the souls they have murdered. The users become extremely passionate and do not feel pity for the lives that fall before their weapons. They are so intoxicated by bloodlust that they forget they were once honest people. When you use this sword, you must control it. Don't let it control you. As soon as he finished speaking, Tommy pulled the sword out of its sheath, the blade flashing a sharp silver light. Immediately, he began to execute powerful and beautiful sword strokes. Tommy's swordsmanship was as fast as lightning and as strong as a storm. Each slash radiated an icy cold aura. His movements were smooth and graceful, as if the sword were an extension of his body. The dance of the sword. The first slash of the sword cut through the air, creating a small whistling sound like the wind blowing through a ravine. The second strike soared into the sky, its light like lightning tearing across the horizon. Every slash, every stab was powerful and precise, with no superfluous movements. Tammy spun around, his sword drawing perfect circles, creating a sparkling and mesmerizing dance performance. His spins, jumps, and jabs were like a battle dance, combining strength and grace. The final slash of the sword ended with a powerful downward strike, creating a cold wind, like a snowstorm that swept away everything in its path. Each of Tommy's sword strokes demonstrated superior virtuosity and technique, making Rondu unable to take his eyes off him. The sword was not only a sharp weapon, but also a living work of art in Tommy's hands, clearly demonstrating its sophistication and unparalleled power. The naming of the sword. Rondu was extremely excited by Tommy's performance. When the demonstration ended, Tommy looked at the sword with an excited expression and said, "I will name this sword the Ice Sword." Discovery and unveiling. The anticipation in the air was palpable as Tommy and Rondu approached the second package. Their initial discovery had already provided a fascinating glimpse into the mysterious cargo, but this next reveal promised something even more intriguing. The package, wrapped meticulously in layers of protective material, was both a puzzle and a treasure chest. As they carefully peeled away each layer, their curiosity grew with every reveal. Finally, the last layer was removed, and the contents were exposed. To their astonishment, the package contained several leather bags, each one crafted with impeccable detail. The leather, aged and supple, exuded a sense of timeless elegance and durability. The craftsmanship was evident in every stitch, every fold. Tommy and Rondu exchanged a glance, knowing that whatever lay within these bags was of significant importance. The iron bars. Opening the first leather bag, they discovered iron bars. Not just any iron bars, but sharp, meticulously crafted ones. Each bar was 20 centimeters long and about 1 centimeter wide, forged from Zeep steel. This particular steel was renowned for its strength and resilience, qualities that were immediately evident in the bar's appearance. They shone brightly, their surfaces reflecting light like cold stars in a clear night sky. What caught their attention next were the intricate patterns carved into the surface of each bar. These were not mere decorations. They were the hallmarks of master craftsmen. The patterns flowed like water, their complexity and grace reminiscent of ancient artistry. Each line, each curve, told a story of skill and dedication, exuding a classic yet powerful beauty. It was clear that these iron bars were not only functional, but also works of art. The leather case. The iron bars were carefully stored in a luxurious leather case, This holster was a marvel in itself, divided into 10 small pockets, each precisely tailored to hold an iron bar. The case was designed for both protection and ease of access, ensuring that the bars remained secure yet readily available when needed. Each pocket featured a button, which upon being pressed, activated a powerful spring mechanism. The spring, hidden beneath the surface, would release with a decisive force, pushing the iron bar upward and revealing its sharp, gleaming end. This ingenious design meant that the iron bars could be deployed quickly and efficiently, ready for action at a moment's notice. Mechanism. The mechanism was both simple and sophisticated. When an iron bar was placed back into the pocket, the spring would compress and lock the bar into place, holding it securely. The precision of this mechanism was impressive. Each press of the button was like a gentle yet firm command, making the holster feel like a box containing miniature swords. These iron bars, with their razor-sharp edges and elegant design, seemed ready for secret and challenging missions, waiting only for the right moment to be unleashed.